Availability without value is one of the most dangerous traps high potentials people fall into. See, many of us grow up thinking that being helpful means always being on call, answering every request, jumping at every opportunity, saying yes to everything that crosses our path. We're taught that being needed is the same as being important. But let me tell you the truth that took me years to understand. Being needed is not the same as being valuable. There are plenty of people who are needed because they're easy to access, not because they bring transformation. And when you confuse the two, you start giving away your time, your energy, and your greatness to people who only see you as an option, not an asset. Think about this. Convenience is everywhere, but value is rare. Water is everywhere and people take it for granted. Diamonds are rare and people pay a fortune for them. The difference isn't just in the substance, it's in the scarcity, the refinement, the process it took to become what it is. Some of you are living like water when you were designed to be diamonds. You're everywhere, you're accessible, you're picking up every phone call, responding to every message, showing up to every meeting, even ones you have no business attending. And all the while, your value is shrinking in the eyes of the very people you think you're impressing. I remember when I first started coaching and consulting, I was so eager to serve that I made myself constantly available. I thought that if I was easy to reach, people would see how committed I was, and they did. But not in the way I intended. They didn't see me as high level. They saw me as handy. They didn't see me as elite. They saw me as easy. And it hit me one day. I was training people to treat me like a commodity. And that's when I knew something had to change. When you're always available, you're not perceived as valuable, you're perceived as replaceable. And that is a mindset issue, not a market issue. If you believe that your worth is tied to your willingness to stretch yourself thin, you'll keep burning out trying to win people who'll never respect you because they never had to invest in you. People don't value what costs them nothing. That's not their fault. It's how humans work. If someone gives you a free car, you might treat it differently than if you had to save and sacrifice to buy it yourself. So why are you giving away the most precious parts of you, your time, your wisdom, your energy, for free to people who haven't earned the right to receive it? Your availability should be earned. It should be the reward for someone recognizing your value and being willing to invest in it. Your time is not free. Your presence is not free. Your mind is not free. You've got experience. You've got wisdom. You've paid the price to learn what you know. You've walked through valleys. You've overcome battles. You've built things that others only dream about, and now you're just giving that away to people who didn't walk with you, didn't sacrifice with you, didn't build with you. No more. Availability without value leads to burnout, frustration, and resentment. You begin to feel used, not because people are evil, but because you never made your value clear. The world doesn't reward you for being always on. It rewards you for being excellent, for being strategic, for being effective. So if you want to stop being overlooked and start being honored, stop showing up everywhere and start showing up where your presence carries weight. Start operating like the prize you are. Because once you do, you'll notice something. People will start treating you differently. Not because they changed, but because you did. You teach people how to treat you by what you offer, whether you realize it or not. Every time you say yes when you should say no, every time you lower your standards to meet someone else's expectations, every time you give away your time, energy, or expertise without boundaries, you are silently instructing the people around you. You are telling them how to approach you, how to prioritize you, and how much to respect what you bring to the table. And if what you offer is always available, always convenient, always free, then don't be surprised when people treat you like you're common, like what you have isn't worth much. People don't just respond to your words, they respond to your behavior. You might say, I deserve to be respected, but if your actions say, I'll show up anytime for anyone without requiring anything in return, then you've already undermined that message. Respect isn't something people just give. It's something you either command through your boundaries or you lose through your desperation. When you constantly offer yourself without limits, you communicate that your presence is low cost. And let me tell you, people don't value what doesn't cost them anything. I had to learn this lesson the hard way. Early in my career, I was eager to help, eager to prove myself. I'd jump on any call, show up to any meeting, give out hours of advice, all for free. I thought I was building relationships. I thought I was planting seeds. But what I was really doing was depleting myself to gain approval. And I'll never forget the day I realized it wasn't working. I had given so much to a group of people: mentorship, insight, connections. And when it came time to build something for myself, to ask for support in return, silence, crickets. That's when I learned people don't respect what you give away too easily. They get used to it, they come to expect it, and eventually they feel entitled to it. You are not just offering a service, you are offering years of learning, of sacrifice, of refining your skills, of building your value. So when you offer all of that with no clear boundary, you end up training others to ignore the very thing you worked so hard to build. And here's the twist: it's not their fault. It's yours. Because people will only treat you the way you allow them to. They'll only value what you value. So if you value yourself cheaply, expect them to do the same. But the moment you shift, when you begin to demand excellence from yourself, when you stop giving away your energy to every request, when you become intentional with who gets access to your time, people start paying attention. They start asking what changed. They start wondering how to earn your presence. That's not ego, that's wisdom. That's stewardship of your life and purpose. This is why setting standards is not arrogance, it's clarity. It's saying, this is who I am, this is what I bring, and this is how I operate. Because the truth is, if you don't define that, the world will define it for you. And their version of your value will always be a discount. So ask yourself today, what are you offering, and what is it teaching people about how to treat you? Are you offering boundaries or blind availability? Are you offering excellence or just access? Because when you raise the level of what you offer, not in quantity, but in quantity and intention, you begin to attract people who don't just want your time, they want your transformation, and they'll respect what it takes to get it. Increase your capacity, increase your value. That's a principle I had to not only learn, but live. See, most people want to be valuable, but they don't want to grow the capacity required to hold that value. They want the stage, but they don't want to build the strength. They want the opportunity, but they don't want to become the kind of person who can handle it. Let me tell you something. Value follows capacity. You can't give what you haven't developed. You can't deliver excellence if you haven't been stretched. And you certainly can't lead if you haven't learned how to carry more than what's comfortable. I'll be honest with you. There was a time when I prayed for bigger doors, prayed for success, for clients, for influence. But every time something big came along, it exposed the gaps in my preparation. It revealed where my mindset was small, where my systems were sloppy, where my character needed refinement. So instead of getting bitter about the delay, I decided to get better in the development. I started working on my capacity, not just my skills, but my habits, my thinking, my disciplines. Because if you want to be valuable in the marketplace, you need more than talent. You need to be able to carry the weight of what you're asking for. Think about a wine glass and a bucket. Both hold liquid, but only one can hold it at a higher capacity. The wine glass may look elegant, but it can't carry much. The bucket, though simple, can handle more. The question isn't how you look, it's how much you can handle. Can you handle the pressure of leading others? Can you carry the responsibility of building something that lasts? Can you develop the mental and emotional capacity to be consistent, disciplined, focused, and resilient even when life hits hard? You increase your value by increasing your ability to handle pressure problems, and purpose without breaking. And that doesn't come from waiting. That comes from working. It comes from showing up every day, even when nobody's watching. It comes from stretching beyond your comfort zone, reading what others won't read, practicing what others ignore, learning from failure instead of running from it. And that's how capacity grows. And as your capacity grows, so does your ability to deliver results at a higher level. And results are what the world rewards. People don't pay for effort, they pay for effectiveness. They don't invest in the potential of who you could be, they invest in the clarity and consistency of who you've become. So the more you sharpen your skill, the more you develop your discipline, the more valuable you become, not just in the marketplace, but in your relationships, in your purpose, in your life. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to become visible before they become valuable. They chase platforms instead of preparation. They want to be seen before they've learned how to serve at a high level. But true elevation comes when your capacity finally matches the calling. When what you've built behind the scenes is strong enough to sustain what's being offered in public. That's where transformation happens. Not when the door opens, but when you're ready to walk through it and own the room. So if you want to increase your value, stop asking for more money, more clients, more attention, and start asking, where do I need to grow? What part of me isn't ready yet? Because when you build the capacity, the increase will follow. Every time, mindset over marketplace. How you see yourself determines how the world sees you. This is one of the most life-altering truths you will ever grasp. Before anyone ever decides to invest in you, follow you, partner with you, or even believe in you, they subconsciously take their cue from how you see yourself. And if you walk into the world with doubt, with insecurity, with hesitation in your spirit, people will pick up on that energy before you ever speak a word. Because confidence, true confidence, is not something you can fake, it's something you carry. It's in the posture, it's in the tone, it's in the decisions you make when no one is looking. So many people are chasing platforms, clients, income goals, and exposure, thinking that the problem is out there in the marketplace. But the truth is, it's almost never the market, it's the mindset. The marketplace reflects what you project. And if you don't believe in your value, if you don't believe that what you carry has the power to transform lives, why would anyone else? We think branding starts with logos and colors. No, it starts with belief. Because people buy belief. They invest in conviction. They follow certainty. I've seen people with average skill sets dominate industries, not because they were the most talented, but because they believed in what they brought to the table. And I've also seen incredibly gifted people stay broke, invisible, and frustrated simply because they carried self-doubt like a shadow. They waited for the world to approve them before they approved themselves. But you can't wait for permission to be powerful. You've got to decide that you are valuable, you are necessary, and you are worthy of occupying space. And that decision changes how you talk, how you move, how you price your services, how you protect your energy, and how you show up in the world. There was a time in my life when I downplayed my own worth. I lowered my prices. I deferred to people who weren't nearly as prepared. I second-guessed myself in rooms I was qualified to lead. And all of it came back to one thing: I didn't fully see myself. I was waiting for the marketplace to validate me before I validated myself. And as a result, the market mirrored my uncertainty. It wasn't until I decided, not felt, but decided, that what I carried was valuable, that everything changed. I raised my standards, and the world met me there. I saw myself differently, and others began to respond to me differently. Why? Because I stopped begging for recognition and started behaving like someone who recognized their own value. The internal shift always precedes the external reward. You've got to be the first one to believe in your own power. You've got to stop waiting for applause before you perform. Stop asking for acceptance before you act. When you begin to operate from a mindset of confidence, of certainty, of divine purpose, you create a ripple effect that moves through every space you enter. You shift the energy. You command attention, not because you're loud, but because you're clear. And clarity is magnetic. So if your results aren't matching your ability right now, the first place to look is not your product or your competition, it's your perception. Do you see yourself as someone who brings massive value into every room, every call, every project? Or are you still shrinking, still waiting, still hoping someone else will say what you haven't yet said to yourself? Because until you fix the mindset, the marketplace will remain indifferent. You will never rise above the level of belief you have in yourself. And once you grasp that, once you own that, the game changes